Today I will explain to you as simple as possible how the latest Apocalyptic Shadow enemies work. And let's start with Cocolia, and the first thing you might have noticed with her is that does many follow-up attacks. And she does these follow-up attacks because whenever she does a single target attack, and she has two types of them, one which is just a normal single target attack with no strings attached, and another one where she has a chance to freeze you. When she does any of these single target attacks, she will attack every enemy who has these marks on them, doing that same single target attack. So let's say it is Cocolia's turn now, she does a single target attack, and let's say she attacks Hyacinth. Then now she will do this same normal single target attack to every enemy who has a mark, which is Ruanmei and Castoris. But as you can see, she has two actions in her turn, and if this one is also single target attack, and let's say it's a freeze attack, and she will attack a random enemy, let's say it is Hyacinth again, and now she will ally of yours who has a mark. So as you can see, in one turn she has already done like 6 attacks back to back. So how can we make sure she doesn't do these follow-up attacks then? Well, that is simple luckily for us, since to remove these marks on our allies, all we got to do is just kill a pillar. When we kill a pillar, then that mark will be removed. And to know which mark has been attached to which pillar, so how do I know how to remove Ruanmei's mark? I don't know, as far as I have seen. So just got to kill a pillar and hope that it is Ruanmei, since the game doesn't indicate which pillar has marked which ally of yours. But just know, when you kill a pillar, a mark will be removed. And you really want to focus on killing these pillars, since in the second phase of Cocolia, now she will summon 4 pillars. That means if Cocolia now gets a single target, she will like do billion attacks in a row. And these attacks are way worse, since yes, one of them is a freeze attack. But instead of doing a normal single target attack, like in the first phase, now that single target attack will be replaced with an attack that can imprison you, which is way worse than freezing, since when you get imprisoned, you will get immediately pushed back in the action bar, so you actually will be immediately delayed. With the freezing, you can still cleanse that. So if you get frozen, nothing happens. Sure, you cannot do anything, but when it's your turn, then your action gets delayed. So when you get frozen, make sure your priority is to cleanse before your turn starts. But when you get imprisoned, I just recommend you to restart, if you really cannot get all the Apocalyptic Shadow points. But if, for example, like Ruanmei gets imprisoned, sure, I can still afford it because I run slow Ruanmei. If her action gets delayed, it even helps me. So now my ult will last longer if I had cast my ult. But if my Castoris gets imprisoned, then it's bad for me. So even if I cleanse it, her action would have already been delayed, which may have costed me doing one skill with Castoris will just mess up my wall flow. Oh, and one thing you might have noticed is that we now have 5 marks on our allies instead of 4 you might expect, since every pillar marks an ally. But this extra mark that we have here is from Cocolia herself, which is just a single target attack which can freeze you, and when she has done that attack, she will just immediately remove that mark. But the general takeaway from this Cocolia boss fight is to make sure that you kill every pillar, to make sure that Cocolia doesn't do billion full attacks to your allies. But there's also one extra reason why you want to kill the pillars. That is that when you kill a pillar, which you might also have noticed, is that when a pillar dies, that weakness type gets transferred to Cocolia, which is needed because that's the whole point of Apocalyptic Shadow, to weakness take the boss, so we're able to kill her in one go. The other reason is why you want to implant as many weaknesses to Cocolia is that the more weaknesses Cocolia has, the more damage she will take. So we cannot ignore these pillars for too long. Sure, maybe you can ignore it, since these pillars are actually quite nice, since they do just a single AoE attack, which helps in regenerating our energy, since they do not hit that hard. So if you go for like a full nuke Sailor or Face Out team, sure, you can afford it to just single out Cocolia after you have implanted the Wind or Quantum weakness on Cocolia. Weakness break Cocolia, and there are still a couple of pillars left. All those pillars will just disappear. So maybe in these situations, you can afford to just ignore a couple of pillars. But the general guideline is to just weakness break those pillars, get the damage reduction on Cocolia immediately, and nuke her down when you have weakness broken her. But we also know that Cocolia and the pillars are not the only ones in this site, as we also have Gepard here. And the only really interesting thing about Gepard is his very irritating shield he can cast, which happens at his second turn, his second action. And the thing with the shield is that when he casts this, every enemy on the field will have their toughness locked, as you can see. And Cocolia, of course, has no locked weaknesses because she has no weaknesses yet. And the only one whose toughness we can reduce now is Gepard. Luckily for us, since when you weakness break Gepard, the shield will be gone. But if you reduce the shield to 0, then his toughness will also be automatically reduced to 0. But you don't even want to get to the point of reducing his shield to 0, since the recommendation is to just 1. Not allow him to get his second turn, second action, so that's when he will cast this shield. Or the other way is to just leave his toughness bar a bit like this, and that when he casts his shield, that you can just do like 1 Castoris or 3B or whatever you got skill or basic attack, and you just weakness break him, and the shield will go automatically away. Or just ignore all of that and just nuke him down before before his second turn, second action, and you don't even have to worry about the shield. But the recommendation is just make sure that you weakness break him to remove the shield and not brawl bug it to remove the shield if you have really difficulty to clear the Apocalyptic Shadow. But if you decide to ignore him, you can, since when you go to the second phase of the battle, Gepard will just go away and then Cocolia will summon the 4 pillars. But now let's get to the second part of this Apocalyptic Shadow, which is with Kafka and her summons. Kafka herself is quite simple, since, to keep it short, she revolves around the shock status. Like, she has some attacks that can apply shock to you, and if she like attacks an ally of yours which has shock, she will like apply shock to another ally of yours, and when she attacks a shocked ally, she will attack all shocked allies after that too immediately. So she basically just revolves around shocks and some AoE attacks with her grenades and all that stuff. But the really hindering thing about her is that she can dominate you, which looks like this. And this means that the dominated ally will just do their basic attack to one of your allies for 2 turns. So when you see your ally get dominated, make sure you cleanse that immediately. Now I cannot cleanse because my Lucha got dominated. And be especially careful in the second phase, since in the second phase, she is able to dominate 2 allies of yours in one go. And they will have this heart with a lock on their head. When you see this, make sure you cleanse that immediately before the spider gets his turn. Else, your allies with the heart on their head will get dominated. And the other really irritating thing about Kafka is that she can enhance the other enemies on the field. And you can see that they are enhanced due to this small purple thing on their head. And what this enhancement does is that the enemies will do their abilities on you. That's it. And every enemy has their own special kinds of abilities, of course. Like this blue enemy has attacks that has a chance to freeze you. And the red enemy, when he does his abilities, he has a bounce attack which has a chance to like enkindle you, which is basically a fire dot. And when you're enkindled, he can like absorb all these enkindles from you and charge it up into this big fireball nova. And the more of these enkindles absorbed from you, the more damage this fireball will do. But the thing you need to know about these enemies when they are enhanced is that all you really need to do is to weakness break them. Because when you weakness break an enemy, then their maddened status will go away, just like their charging attack they were about to do, or whatever they have going on. That's it. And to weakness break these enemies is especially important in the second phase, because there is this purple dinosaur here that he gets reduced damage when he is not weakness broken. So if you make sure you weakness break him, he will take more damage from you. And his abilities aren't that really interesting, since they do not hinder you or stun you or imprison you. It just does some bouncing attack, single target attack, nothing worth mentioning. But you got to be careful with weakness breaking this dinosaur here, since you might have noticed these stacks he has. And the thing with these stacks is that when it gets to 6, his defense will be reduced and all enemies will take a chunk of damage. And Kafka will take like 8% damage, which is quite appreciated. But if you weakness break this dinosaur before you get his stacks to 6, then he will not explode and reduce his own defense and do a chunk of damage to all enemies. And how do you increase his stacks to 6? When you attack him. So try to make sure before weakness breaking him that you have attacked him 6 times to get his stacks to 6, to get his defense a bit lower and reduce all enemies their HP a little bit. And when you have done that, then you can focus on weakness breaking him and killing him. And what this enemy does is that he has like an ability that has a chance to slow you, and that's it. Sure, some single target attacks, some fire spewing things here and there, but nothing hindering apart from this chance to slow you. When you get slowed, make sure you cleanse that with your Lucha if you have one or whoever you got. But try to make sure that you remove the slow on your DPS then. So in my case, I remove the slow for my Firefly, because I want her to be as fast as possible. And now there is also one other thing worth mentioning, which you also might have noticed, is that when you kill an enemy, their weakness type gets transferred to the other enemy. And then when you kill this enemy who has all the other weakness type he has, then Kafka gets all the weakness types. So you go like from enemy 1 to enemy 2, you kill him, and now you can focus Kafka. And do not feel like focusing another enemy apart from Kafka is a damage wasted, since when you kill an enemy, Kafka will have like her toughness bar reduced by 25%. And she will lose one of these stacks from this defense thing, which says that the more enemies there are on the field, the less damage Kafka will get. So that's the flow of this fight against Kafka. Kill the summons. If I've killed all of them, focus Kafka, nuke her down when she's weakness broken, and you will be good to go. And if you do not manage to nuke her down before she gets her toughness back, then she will resummon all these enemies, so you can start again, which is something you do not want to happen, because you will not have enough points by then to get all the rewards for this Apocalyptic Shadow. But you do not have to stress too much about this, since you can play with Painon in this Apocalyptic Shadow. Since this Apocalyptic Shadow is going to end on Sunday the 6th of July, and Painon is to be expected on the 2nd of July. Unfortunately, just before the Fate collab, which is the 11th of July. But if you're still unsure whether you want to summon for Pinon or not, you can wait for the 3.5 drip marketing, which is expected to be around the 17th of June. So you can make a more educated decision for who you really want to summon. And if you want to know more about the kits of Pinon, Saber and Archer before you plan on deciding who to summon for or not, on the 20th of June, the 3.4 livestream will be where they will go into the kits of Pinon, Saber and Archer. But luckily for us, on the 11th of June, Cypher will be available. So if you plan on summoning for her, you can also summon for her. But my point is basically, you still have a lot of time to clear the Apocalyptic Shadow. Just take your time, play with who you want to play, have fun. Since you're the boss, I thank you for paying attention and see you the next time. Bye.